What's up, everybody? Guy here with Total Geek Live, and as always, I am with the Total Geek Live crew, consisting of Baltimore, Kaiser, and global phenomenon Danny Gunter.
Yeah. He's done. Sorry.
What's he done? Tell me. What's he done?
I'm gonna keep it to myself now. I don't want to speak over you. I apologize.
He's not gonna talk about his global Shabba-Scrabba
His
videos that he's been putting.
His Shabba-Scrabba?
I like pudding.
That's probably why you're here, because it's Shabba-Scrabba. But thanks for stopping by.
You come from the Shabba-Scrabba and stay for the Scooby-Dooba, or what's this guy's name again?
I was kind of hoping you were going to give us street names.
That's why.
You got to earn street name. You got to right? But we're doing 19XX today, but this time we're doing a little different. We're doing 10 movies today because it is that important, because both were 1984 phenomenon sensations that really captured the voice of what was going on in the early 80s. That is Breakin and Breakin 2 Electric Boogaloo. So you gotta bust out your moves and stuff before you get burned.
I think I hurt myself.
Before you burn some fools.
That's right.
You got to pop and lock.
You gotta get to popping and locking.
Jam.
So these two are breakdancing movies, as I said. They came out in '84, and some of us are new to the Breakin universe that took place. Others are a little bit more old school, and then of course I had an unusual experience at Pensacon this last weekend. What
happened?
I got to meet Michael Boogaloo Shrimp Chambers and Adolfo Shabba-Doo Quiones, who are Turbo and Ozone in the movies respectively. So that was definitely fun. Nice guys. They're definitely what you see in the movies. That's them. I think it's almost a little biographical how everything goes down, because a couple of things were interesting. It's like I didn't realize that they actually did the breakdancing battles, and there really was Ice-T officiating all that stuff, and
crazy.
Yeah, I thought that was just stuff they did for the movie, and it turned out they really, really did this. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's almost like a documentary in the works that just took over, because it was over in Venice Beach and that those areas of California, it was like just throw down some cardboard boxes and boom, a crowd would gather, because dancers would just kind of have all these dance-offs, and it was almost like you're on my turf and I'm approaching on your turf, and we gotta let's handle it not violently. Let's have a dance-off and let the crowd part of it's let the crowd decide who really owned it and all that. And it was
raise your hand.
Fascinating little subculture thing that was happening.
Oh yeah, and totally inspiring. I mean, raise your hand if, because of these movies, you thought you could breakdance.
All right, yeah. I'll raise both
you
hands.
tried breakdancing? Okay. Really? You never tried to spin around and?
Well, here's my confession. I never watched these movies until I moved to New York.
Oh, wow.
When John introduced me to these films, as he grew up with them, and he used to breakdance as a little kid from this, and he very fond memories of it. So he introduced me to these movies, and I'm like, what am I watching? And what is going on? But I've really come to love and enjoy these movies, and when it's on, I'm gonna watch it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it would have been very good for me to start breakdancing at my age.
more break, less dancing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't feel too bad. They're still doing it today.
I can't believe it. I mean, go ahead.
It's amazing, but come on, they take good care of themselves, And
oh yeah,
there's a lot of training involved. With that,
and it looks effortless, but it's not.
Yeah,
Yeah, dancers got to dance, you know.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and I have a really really clear memory in my head of kind of how I was introduced to the movies and the whole breakdancing world. And that, as a little kid, before I moved to Corsicana, I was way out in the country, way out outside of Jacksboro. And there was one time I had a set of cousins come, and my uncle and aunt in this big van, and they came for a visit for the weekend. And I remember them pulling over to the side of we had two driveways because we're out in the country, and they set up a whole breakdance area right by the van. They brought their own cardboard boxes and set it down, and had a boom box, and were like breakdancing. And because you were older cousins of me, I was like, maybe 6, 7 at the time, and so wasn't really into it. And so I'm watching them do breakdancing and listen to the music, all that, and then they tell me about the movies, and then I'm like, oh, I gotta know more. I need to know more about this.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the original Breaking was, there's the Step It Up or what are the dance movies?
There's Step It Up and
Bring It On.
That's cheerleading.
Okay. It's the same premise. It's
same kind of. Yes.
Yeah.
What passes for today.
And Breakin' is my first memory of that genre of movie.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Fame before it.
Lambada maybe too.
Yeah.
I think Lambada came out just right after, after the.
Probably, maybe those are the similar.
Yeah.
I know that Footloose is very usually bundled up in with this, and then there's another one it's called Thrashin', I think, or something.
Mm-hmm.
Thrashin' is skateboarding.
Okay, then maybe it's not that. I can't remember.
It's not Red because that's BMX biking.
You got to get correct there.
And it's not rapping, even though that's the spiritual third sequel. The only person that came back was Ice-T for that.
Rapping,
but yeah, it's part 3-ish. Really not, but Ice-T,
kind of Trolls 2 of the Breakin' universe.
I guess. But it's funny because both those movies did come out in the same year. Canon Films was so confident about Breakin' because Breakin' really took off. It was, people were excited about it and went out to see it. And they were like, we got to get to part 2. And they didn't even waste time. It was like, part 2's coming. And it did that same year. And I honestly cannot think of another film series that you get both installments in the same year.
Yeah, it's kind of unreal to think about it. Just the amount of.
The strike while the iron is hot was their mentality. They were not going to wait for the fad to go away.
No,
it's get it out there, make the money.
Get more ozone and turbo in your life.
Right. Yeah, in our earlier discussions before we started filming this, Baltimore, you mentioned Back to the Future and how 2 and 3 were filmed simultaneously, but that was on the preface of 1 was so successful. Kaiser, you mentioned how the Lord of the Rings movies, the second and the third one especially, were done kind of coexisting.
Matrix 2 and 3 filmed at the same time.
Yeah. But those were always after the first one was a success, and whereas this was, they were already head first in, diving with both films invested in it, and it really unheard of. Even nowadays, there's not a lot of movie studios who would actually take the risk and make that kind of investment. And then, what I saw with doing some research about this and all that is that this movie came out, Breakin' 1, the first one, came out the same week as 16 Candles, and it actually beat 16 Candles in the box office for the first week.
No way.
Yep.
Brought down the Johnny Hughes.
Yep. It's pretty impressive.
That is crazy.
And they had to have been written at the same time because, I mean, watching both of them, they're so tonally different. I mean, the first one is like, you know, the spirited street kids are going up against the crusty old establishment to get some respect and a chance. And then the second one is like, oh, I guess we should probably do something about saving a community center in between all the dancing. So
I actually really appreciate the social commentary of the second one. You know, because it wasn't the same old, same old. They could have just repeated the formula for Breaking 1 for the second one, but they were different. They, you know, they realized how important the community was to breakdancing, what it meant for them, and I think that was a smart move on their behalf to incorporate it into and make it, you know, the what the sequel was about. So I really did appreciate that. You know, of course, both films have a lot of tropes in them and guys and destroying the community. But you know what? It's a trope because it works, and it works in the films.
Where were they when our malls were closing? Why weren't they here trying to save our...
I know. Where was TKO for College Park Mall? Right?
Exactly.
Oh, man. Yeah,
maybe we can get them over here, see if we can't bring that mall back.
Yeah, at the very least, maybe they can resurrect Corn Dog 7. I'd be okay with that.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Get Lucinda Dickey out dancing out for Corn Dog 7. I'd be okay with that.
Oh, Lucinda Dickey, going from Breakin to Ninja 3 Domination.
Oh my God, guys! When I saw this movie, I was like, "That's the girl from Ninja Domination."
Ninja 3, the Domination, not just any old ninja.
But yeah, but afterwards, like her, you'll see her movie career just kind of stops because she married the co-executive producer of Survivor. So that's just, I mean, she can easily just say, you know what, I'm gonna become a stay-at-home mom, and you just go have fun with that.
In the past decade or so, she judged a dancing show, I think.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if it was more than one season, but I remember that she was on one of the dancing shows.
Yeah.
I don't think it was Dancing with Stars, but I think it was some other So You Think You Can Dance competition.
So yeah.
But yeah, that's one of the things. Like you see somebody, and then I have a pretty good eye for that. I found Ozone in Xanadu.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes, that's true.
Yes.
Roller skating guys in one of the main moments, and I was like, I was watching it with John, and I was like, that's Ozone. He's like, no, it's not. Rewound it, and I was like, paused it, like, that's him. He's like, no, and then we went on IMDb, and sure enough, yep, there he was. I was like,
IMDb. Zabadoo.
Yeah.
Yeah. IMDb is the great, arguments, eliminator. Is like, no, he wasn't in that movie, or no, that movie didn't come out that year. It's like, oh yeah?
Yeah.
But, it's funny because it's like both movies were so, like I said, totally different, and they were very tropey, as you said, Baltimore. Because one is get the respect and the chance, and the other is save the community center. But honestly, it didn't really matter about the story because you were there for the music because those soundtracks are great, and the dancing, which they definitely focused on more in part 2. But man, those guys can dance.
Yeah,
absolutely.
They could pop, lock, and jam.
Right.
Well,
I'm good if I could pop.
Well, and it was great that it's not just some of the dancing and stuff wasn't just focused on the main characters. You had them kind of going up against the electro rock guys, which if I can get that Pink Floyd hat that guy was wearing, then I should say those two guys that were wearing, because the guy who wore the Pink Floyd The Wall hat it was pink. Black and white with Pink Floyd, all right? In the very beginning, in the beach scene, that guy couldn't make it to filming another day, so they used a completely different actor for the same role. And that guy's also wearing the hat that I want. I want that Pink Floyd hat. I will pay $100 for that Pink Floyd hat.
Or you could step up and burn those fools in a dance challenge.
Ah, man, no way. My river dancing days are over.
No, we're bringing it back. Everything's reboots and remakes these days. We're bringing it back.
Break it.
I did find that those dance things really funny, though, because there were a couple times I was like, how do you determine the winner for this? Because they're like, and they're like, oh, and then they just walk away. And it's like, what constitutes the win there? How did that qualify?
The subtle nuance in the fist pump, they're doing
all this, and I'm like, okay, that's the end move. Everyone's like, I got nothing else. I gotta go. Sorry.
I think
usually, like nowadays, it's like the head slide across the floor, or some huge, like almost like Cirque du Soleil type maneuver. But yeah, in the Breakin movies, it's just simple. Yeah, up, done, won. See ya.
I really liked when Turbo did the dance sequence when the whole room shifts and everything. Like that's really impressive. And of course, a nod to Gene Kelly with that, but it's really, really impressive to see that, and to see it done so well. When you consider, I'm sure this did not have a huge budget, but they really put the money towards things that were, increase the value of it. And this is one of those things that I thought really, really increased the value. It was really, really impressive.
Yeah. And apparently that room has gotten a lot of mileage. It was in Nightmare on Elm Street. It was in Poltergeist. I think it was in one of like Fred Astaire's films. But yeah, it's gotten around. I think this is like the 4th or 5th time that room has been used, and it's easily the most standout scene of the entire film because it's bright and it's colorful and it's got a fun song and everything's going on. And then they did something similar in Breakin' 1 where like Turbo was playing around with the broom and doing that whole broom routine. That originated just by him kind of screwing around on set, and they were watching him. It was like, can you keep doing that? And then they went out and built like this specialized broom and put some strings on it so he can kind of make that happen. So
one of my favorite scenes because you could tell it was a total callback to Fred Astaire. And
but in a way that was for the time modern,
right?
And the moment, which is key.
Yep.
Oh, for sure. One of the funny things I noticed when I was getting the screen grabs for this is because that was the whole thing. Like Turbo and Ozone were working at this convenience store, and when Ozone tells Turbo to go out and sweep the streets, it's like there's a whole row of Special K cereal boxes in the back. I thought it was super funny. I was like, man, there's some product placement for that.
Yep.
For Kelly.
What? No boxes of Special G.
No, this Special G happened this weekend when I finally got my street name, and
we don't have the cred as Special G does.
No, we ain't got cred. No.
Right. You gotta do some rap battles like that crazy underpass battle in Breakin' 2.
I know, right?
Nunchucks and garbage can shields. Let's talk about some of the weirdness that goes down in Breakin' 2. I love that movie, but let's talk about some of that. It's like they throw Electro Rock throws a spray can in through the community center. They go out. They have this whole thing. Ice-T is like an omniscient voiceover somewhere, and then it's like okay, they're doing all the thing like I was saying. Apparently this is like the end all finishing movie. And then they pull out nunchucks, and then they get like this Captain America level like garbage can shield, and they do it for another minute or so, and then they're done. They walk away. How? Why? What were the conditions?
I don't know, but I mean, I did the same thing. I played with nunchucks that I got at the flea market, and I had a garbage can lid for a shield.
But did you use them to win a dance battle?
No. I was like pretending I was He-Man. I was like.
finally got my street name, and I don't fully understand the ways of the street and the rules. Tragic. And then there's the infamous hospital scene. And that's just for me when it was like, all right, reality is no longer based. The spinning room where Turbo is walking around and dancing, fine. Breakdancing nunchucks and garbage can shields, fine. The weird ass hospital dance off where people were coming back from the dead. Okay.
That's your line?
That's my line of breakdancing resurrects people is what I have learned from Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo. It's everybody's in
that's just how powerful it is.
The break dancer necromancer.
Oh, that's beautiful.
There you go.
All I know is those nurses, like 3 nurses come out and they do like a high kick, and that doctor just looks. So it's like, oh, we've lost him, and he's like, yeah, that dude comes back, and I'm just like, okay. People,
you know, when you're filming a movie, it is very important to you establish what the rules of the universe is as you're filming it, and they clearly establish that anything can freaking happen. So as long as they're playing by their rules, everything's cool. So you accept it. Okay, yeah, breakdancing brings people back from the dead. I accept that because, you know, rooms spin around.
Just like the Night King in Game of Thrones.
Yes.
That dude probably had some blue eyes, and I didn't even notice it. I'll have to wait for the special Blu-ray. But yeah, it's like Turbo's girlfriend comes out of the closet in his hospital room. Okay. Bless her, she can't. You know, she only says like "por favor" through the entire movie. I think she, from what I understood, she didn't know Spanish and she had to like say everything phonetically. So it was like "por favor" and "no habla inglés." And I think we're like her entire lines.
Oh wow! I think some of my favorite moments, especially going back and rewatching Breakin' 1, the first one, was seeing people that I didn't remember the first time. You know, seeing the very opening beach scene, I'm like, that is Jean-Claude Van Damme in a black leotard.
Yes.
Right.
And I can't wait to, when I edit this video, because I've got the animated GIF of him doing his little dance that he does, because it's hilarious.
Yeah, he's just doing this. He's just clapping along.
Well, he does this little thing like this at the very, very
end. Yeah.
And it's so perfect. It's so perfect. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, the agent, her special case agent was Shooter McGavin, Christopher McDonald, but
yeah, Christopher McDonald.
Everybody knows him as Shooter McGavin from Happy Gilmore. I mean, it's like it's just such a great role, and I'm like, oh my god,
pieces of shit for breakfast.
Right?
No,
I just totally forgot that he was in there, you know, and then. Learning, Ice-T being in it, and then when I was doing research for this, so the character Franco, the jerk dancer guy that Kelly was taking lessons from, or whatever, I actually found his LinkedIn page.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
I found the actor's LinkedIn page, and I'm 3rd degree away from him in my LinkedIn connections.
Oh, that's fun.
But make a friend.
You know, he was actually in Thriller, Michael Jackson's Thriller, as a dancer. He was a zombie, and then he was also in Captain EO.
Oh wow!
One of the dancers in those. His name is Ben Lokey, Low-Key, L-O-K-E-Y. So he's totally low key.
Nice.
But that was a interesting thing about like going through and looking at this is like even Lucinda, she was she was a dancer and a gymnast, and the majority of the main people in this thing were not actors. They were
dancers.
They were dancers, and it's like
they were
thinking about this. This couldn't even be made now. Hollywood would never just say, let's just get a bunch of dancers together and then we'll try to give them some acting lessons and see if they can pull something like this off. It would never, I don't think it would ever happen now. And that's just
Cannon was a very Canon was a very special company.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't your typical Hollywood.
Oh no, I know that. I mean, they were like
Charles Bronson, Death Wish, and Chuck Norris, and man, He-Man, Masters of the Universe. That was another one. Breakin' 1 was the last professionally distributed film from MGM, because there were, Breakin' 2 was done by TriStar, because it was like Canon did everything, and some of their other films were a little racy in content, and MGM was like, nope, don't want to be associated with that. And but yeah, it's just Canon. Yeah, they actually have a documentary out called Electric Boogaloo. This is a Canon story. I think it's on Netflix.
Yeah, it's a great documentary.
Yeah, it's entertaining. If you just want to see all the weird movies they made and who were in them.
And just like their business practices and un-Hollywood-like mentality, and it's more like a kind of guerrilla filmmaking, almost more akin to like Lloyd Kaufman Troma Studio kind of vibe, but with more of a not trying to be shticky. It's like, they're like, no, this is a movie, and it's a good movie I'm going to make, and it's a good, it'll make money.
It was two Israeli brothers, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay. Wow.
So go watch it. Electric Boogaloo's a fascinating documentary about Canon, and it goes into like the whole Fantastic Four, the Roger Corman fiasco.
Still the best Fantastic Four movie out there. Sorry, I'm calling it. But yeah, I mean, it's like Michael Chambers and Adolfo. I mean, they've done some stuff, since. It's like Shabba-Doo's done a lot of choreography for like Madonna and a bunch of other big people in the industry. Boogaloo Shrimp taught Michael Jackson how to moonwalk.
Yes.
So those big scenes.
He learned it from his older brother. His older brother kind of showed him how, and then he perfected the move, and then showed Michael.
Yeah.
All this time, I thought Sam Beckett leapt through time, and Michael Jackson was this little kid, and he showed him how to do the moonwalk. That's how I thought it happened. But no, it was Boogaloo Shrimp.
Yeah, it was like 83 through 91. He was constantly telling Michael Jackson. He was like his personal trainer, choreographer, where he learned all those moves during that time. And
then he appeared on that Motown show and unveiled it on the world, and the world changed.
Went crazy.
History.
That's crazy. I didn't know that part. Wow.
Yeah, he did MC Scat Cat in the Paula Abdul video, and it was rotoscope.
He claims that? I mean, no, that wasn't me, dog.
Yeah, he did the Urkel bot in Family Matters, one of Steve Urkel's goofy inventions. That was him, and then he also did the choreography for Do the Bartman. You remember that from the Simpsons? Like, back in the
Batman.
Yeah, that was... I didn't even realize that was actually properly written by Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Right. So Shrimp's done
and
some
he
stuff.
was good Bill Robot in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
He was.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like sitting here going, oh my gosh, Turbo, he's been in my life all this time, and I didn't know. The kids' TV game show, Funhouse, I was a big fan of it. I don't know if you guys were, but I mean, I watched that every day it came on. When it moved in 1990 to Fox, Michael was the announcer for the show.
That I didn't know.
Wow.
Yep. He became the announcer once it moved over to Fox. And I'm just like, man, of course. He's in everything that I watched as growing up.
Yeah.
That's cool,
they called him MC Mike on for the show there.
That's funny.
And then also he is the owner of the best named website ever. It is www.boogalooshrimp.com. That's his website. And that's
appropriate.
Freaking awesome.
Yeah. A lot. It's funny because both the Breakin movies, they're always kind of like in the back of like pop culture consciousness. You know of them even if you don't know them, but even if you don't really, then you've heard of Electric Boogaloo, which seems to get attached to every number 2 of everything.
Yeah, it's either Wrath-A-Con or Electric Boogaloo. People that have probably seen neither of those know those.
Right.
Yeah.
But
what a weird thing to stick in a social conscience. But it's so obscure and just break into Electric Boogaloo. And then it's just like, boop. That is the sequel name for everything now.
Yeah, and Boogaloo's an actual dance. But, it just became the thing because of Breakin. So
that's crazy, yeah.
So what makes a Boogaloo electric? I mean, is that just a variation of the Boogaloo?
It's plugging into a 120-watt circuit.
I think one of the Cannon brothers were like, "Look at that Boogaloo guy, he's electric," and then they just kind of
they're like, money.
Right. An endless subtitle for the rest of time has been made.
Oh, right.
But one of the other things I found interesting is when the whole going back to that spinning room scene is that actually came from because when Boogaloo did those films, he was like 16.
Mm-hmm.
So he was a kid, and of course he couldn't go out because they went to Cannes and they had like a nude beach behind the hotel. And it's like, no, you can't see that. So he stayed in his hotel room and he was watching The Thing, the John Carpenter movie, and the stuff went out the wall, and he's like, I bet I could do that. So he ran it across, and that's how they got that whole scene. It was inspired by The Thing.
Wow.
I did not know that.
But less creepy and less nightmare fuel-y than The Thing.
Right.
Well, just kidding.
Dude, that dog, man, and The Thing. I'll never get to that. And the head thing with the little crab legs. It's like a buffet gone bad. No.
I want to watch The Thing. But we're not talking about The Thing. We're talking about Breakin.
Talking about Breakin.
Breakin.
We're tangenting. You have two fancies. I only have both as a collected set. So
I know.
2 for the price of 1. Tougaloo for the price of 1. Oh. Wow. Yeah, I mean they're fun movies. They were definitely as far as movies go, they are definitely like a snapshot of that point in time, especially 1984 era Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I didn't realize that Radio-Tron was a real thing. I didn't know that Ice-T announcing was a real thing. I didn't know that they actually legitimately did dance battles. And, all these kids that you see in these movies are literally street kids pulled off the street to be put in this movie. And, even their attitudes for both Shabba-Doo and Shrimp that's kind of how they act in real life. I mean, they're one's the more serious, suave one, and the other is silly, and he's just jokey and has a good time. And yeah, it's kind of it seems more biographical than I ever really considered until I started doing all my homework on all this stuff.
Yeah.
So.
But it's really neat to have this film. I mean, I think we are much better off for it.
Yes.
And I like to tease about crap films, and this would not fall into the crap film category.
No, because it's a snapshot of the era. It's not like so bad it's good quality or anything. Yeah,
the thing,
Right.
Yeah.
And it's got Shaka Khan in the soundtrack, so.
I mean,
ain't nobody gonna say that that's like not cool.
Ain't nobody
does
it better.
It's like,
that song comes on, I'm in for everything.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like if that's coming on the radio, then I'm like, yep, all right, it's Breakin time.
Everything can be solved by a montage.
I want the stream to be real. I'm in this feeling. I make my wish on the fire. I hope the night will last forever.
That thing's
probably
shot
make that happen.
Do some footsteps and scoot around on a cardboard box. Maybe
scoot around on it.
Not scoot around. It might be like a long thing.
It's like,
I think you get the breaking part of this.
Yeah. I think that's not the breakdancing. I think that's Anywho.
If you find it in the $5 bin at Walmart or wherever you shop, pick it up if you've never seen it. Or if you have, grab it because it's not really out there on the streaming services, and who knows if it will come again. So grab onto it while you can.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be on the lookout for it because it just seems so hard to find right now. And yeah, it's got to go in my collection because I'm like, why don't I I'm always now questioning myself, why do I have this?
Where is my Criterion collection Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo?
Right.
Oh, man.
That's what I want to know.
What the recommendations for Criterion Boogaloo edition? Oh yeah, actually Boogaloo actually put out a thing on Amazon. It's like he has a new documentary. I mean, like seriously, just recently dropped. It's called Boogaloo Shrimp, and you'll recognize it by its bright cover. But I watched it; it was good. You know, shows a lot of his behind the scenes of his life and such. So
we will definitely have to check that out.
Yeah.
And you should too.
That's right.
Sure.
35 years of Breakin', man. God, I'm old. Anyway.
Yeah, you are.
I didn't ask for validation of my statement. It was like, no, you're not. Have some wine. I was like, all right. But anyway, Breakin' and Breakin' 2. It's hard to choose which one is the best because they're both different. But man, music and dancing. If that's what you're looking for a good 3 hours of nonstop entertainment, then hey, nothing better.
Yeah, if you've ran out of all 7 Step It Ups and 20 Bring It Ons,
Honey.
And Honey 8 is, come and gone, go back. Go way back.
Way back to where it began.
To East LA.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that is all the time we have for our Breakin' retrospective. And as always, it is all poppin' and lockin' to us. Next time. See ya. Might need some.
Chaka Khan. Chaka Khan.
Makes me feel this way.
Chaka Khan.